morning, Celebration Spiritual Center. Let us stand as we prepare to open with prayer. And this morning, our prayer champion, Rhonda Elam, will lead us in prayer.
Great and beautiful Sunday, CSC. Yes. Boy, I love it. Our pastors don't play when it comes to time. Yes. So here we are in the words of Abraham and Esther Hicks. It's a good day. Yes. It's really a good day. Yes. So on that note, let us breathe, close our eyes as we harness in on the light and love that is within, as we harness in on the light and love that surrounds this sacred place. Yes. Infinite and beloved Spirit, how good it is to be in the breath of a new day. How good it is to be in the breath of a new moment, of a new now. As I recognize and honor that you are the ever-present one mind, one spirit, one power that is the owner of all life, that is the owner of all space and time. And it is through your divinity, it is through your sweet grace, God. It is through your swift intelligence. It is through your wondrous and amazing wisdom that I recognize that you are the substance and the goodness that is always abounding in and as my life. I know that you are always the source and the blessing of everything that I am, God. And I stand and I'm anchored in this knowledge. I stand and I'm anchored in the truth that wherever I am, there you be, God. I am anchored in the truth, Spirit, that I am you and you are me and we are one. And that this deal is sealed, Spirit. That this bond is unbroken. And I accept, Spirit, I accept right now and here in this moment that I am a divine and holy reflection of everything and all that you are. And simply put, Spirit, you are fly. And as I recognize that you are fly in all that you create, in all of your miraculousness, then as I am a reflection of your being, then I too must be fly. As each presence that is here, each presence that is listening, each presence that is in consciousness with this truth is a reflection of your being, then you too must be fly. We are fly, Spirit. This is the joy and the truth that I stand in. This is what I take flight in, and I relinquish all amnesia about my being. I relinquish any and all things that are not in alignment with this truth. Because as we come here together to celebrate, we stand uplifted. We stand and we are encouraged by the word. We are encouraged by the message and the love offerings of this service. And I affirm for myself and for each of us here that we are moving and having our being on the wings of Spirit's unchanging love. We are moving and having our being on the wings of life, of love, of liberty. We are moving and having our being on the wings of faith, trust, and divine understanding. We are moving and having our being on the wings of sweet generosity, compassion, and forgiveness. We are moving and having our being on the wings of all around abundance, ultimate prosperity, and divine wholeness. And we stand and do this because we remember whose and whose we are. We stand today as we take flight and live in our flyness because we are confident in who we are. Because we know that our Creator has only good and more good for us, and we stand behind its intention and what's in store for us in our life. Oh, yes, Spirit, I open my heart and my arms wide today in insurmountable gratitude for who and what you are as my life. I stand here with open heart and open arms in deep gratitude for all that you are, Spirit, all that you do and all that you do it through each and every one of us. And on the wings of this prayer, I release this word back to you, infinite loving law, as I wholly abide. So I say no with me as we soar today, church. Amen. Ashe. And so is it.
So we celebrate being right here right now. The past is gone, the future is yet to come, and we are here now. It feels so good. Yes, yes. I can feel my feet on the ground. I'm the present moment now. What a joyful place I found. Here in the present moment now. I am here now. I am here now. I am here now. Leaving my worries at the door. I'm in the present moment now. The easiest way to get back to the center is to bring your attention to your breath. So we breathe in and out intentionally. Then we can sing these words. You're in the present, problems seem so small. You're in the present, all my giants fall. You're in the present, problems seem so small. You're in the present, all my giants. Oh, we are living power of
Spiritual Center, where we celebrate the magnificence of God in you, as you, all around you. There is nothing but God, and it is good. It sits right where you sit. It breathes right where you breathe. It looks out through your eyes. So it means what? It's right where you are. You're never separate from it. And that also means that it created you. It sees you. It knows you. It holds you in a certain light. That light is wholeness and peace and prosperity. That light is not sin. That light is sinlessness. Take that in, because that's good news. You are sinless. You are walking around as this sinless expression. So what's holding you back? Thoughts of the past, thoughts of mistake. God is not holding on to those. If you're unfamiliar with the kind of loves you unconditionally, welcome here. Welcome home. Because that's how and why we celebrate. And at CSC, we believe that everything is spiritual. That would include your cell phone. So just as a gentle reminder, go ahead and spiritualize your cell phone. That means put it on vibrate. But if something moves you or touches you, put it out there on Facebook and Twitter. Let people know where you are, where you checked in, and where you're tuned in. Every mind is joined, and you never know how you're going to impact another life, so put it out there. And if you receive one of these blue connection cards, please fill it out and drop it in with your offering, email address, drop it in, and we'll put you on our mailing list. There's a lot of goodness happening already, and has happened in the last 6 years at CSC. And we're looking forward to so many more. You don't want to miss that. And finally, when we were in the process of saying yes to CSC, yes to this vision, yes to this place that we are in now, we realized we wanted to create a place that felt like home. So when you come to this place, you're never a visitor. If anything, you're a guest. guest in our home and in our heart. And when you come back, you're family. First time you come, you're a guest. When you come back, you're family. So if we have any first-time guests, please stand briefly. First-time guests. Thank you for being here. And remember, the first time you come to CSC, you're a what? Yes. And when you come back, you're what? Family. Let's stand and greet each other like family.
Celebrating truth together, celebrating love together, we are going to stand in the knowing about our prosperity this morning. The song is very simple. It says, I am prosperous. God knows I'm prosperous. I am prosperous. I am whole. And when we talk about prosperity, we're talking about complete prosperity. We're talking about prosperity in every area of your life. Prosperous in time, prosperous in money, prosperous in relationship, prosperous in finances, prosperous in business, prosperous at work. Where every area of your life, complete and total and absolute prosperity. Just like we are prosperous with sunshine, the rays of the sun, we don't have to count it. We didn't have to worry about if there was going to be enough rays this morning. We are prosperous in every area of our life. If you know the song, please join in and party. God knows I'm prosperous. I am prosperous. I am whole. I am prosperous. God knows I'm prosperous. I am prosperous. I am whole. I am prosperous. I am prosperous. I am prosperous. I am is your God name. I am prosperous. So anything you put behind I am. It's the absolute truth. I am prosperous. A very powerful prayer. I am prosperous. I am whole. I am whole. Three parts. I am prosperous. God knows I'm prosperous. I am prosperous. I am whole. I am prosperous. God knows I'm prosperous. I am prosperous. I am whole. I am prosperous. I am
CSC. My name is Gabby, and I'm so happy to see each and every one of you today. One thing that you will learn about CSC is that our mission, our vision, and our purpose guide everything that we do. The vision. Celebration Spiritual Center is a God experience that turns on the heart, mind, and soul of the world. A God experience is the realization of oneness that transcends material sense. Our mission and purpose is to awaken the world to the presence of God within and all around us. Celebrate this truth as one family. Embody unconditional love. Equip humanity to live our greatest lives and serve all creation. The centering thought for this month's meditation is, I feel the love of God within me now, and the song for the month is Bliss. We conclude the July message series, The Wonderful World of Wisdom, Pixar. Pastor Greg's topic today is the power of forgetting. And now it's time for your CSC news and updates. Summer hours are back to CSC. Doors open at 10 a.m. and service begins promptly at 10:30 a.m. Summer hours will be observed through the end of August, so come early, get your spiritual food, and then do something fun and relaxing with the rest of your day. Come get clarity about what's going on in your life. Pastor Greg and Pastor Yolanda are here to support you in applying what you learned at CSC to your daily life experience. Join us today at 12:30 p.m. for the God Talk. No question is off limits. Start your day by knowing the truth of who and whose you are. PGPY and the Prayer Champions pray with us and for us every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Call details can be found at the member services table on our website and social media. Connect with us this Wednesday and advance confidently into your day. Text to give. It's fast, it's easy, and it's secure. Text your dollar amount to 347-744-9500. Then follow the prompts. Minimum donation is $10. Again, the phone number is 347-744-9500. Try it out today. Now, just a few short housekeeping reminders. Food and drink is not allowed in the sanctuary except for water. However, we do ask that you keep your beverage covered. Also, no audio or video recording is permitted during service. Thank you for serving with us, and we will see you next week.
We've come to the time in our service that we devote to going within, consciously going within. I love this month's affirmation for the meditation. I feel the love of God within me now. Because God, as I say, as we say, is a felt reality. You can think about God, you can read about God, but the way to know God is to feel God. And God is not distant from you. God is right where you are. It doesn't require any special dispensation. It doesn't require you to do anything. It just requires you to let go of the things that you think are the walls that prevent you from feeling God. To know God is to feel God. And you can feel God in the midst of the struggle, and you can feel God in the midst of the joy, because God is always there, right where you are. And to say I feel the love of God, I feel the connection of God within me, not just within me sometimes, not within me next week, but within me right now, right now. So let's go ahead and close our eyes. And gently relax your feet to the floor. And if it feels good to you, rest your back against the chair. And just notice the cool sensation of the chair, the support, the love. surrender your body to the chair in this moment, knowing that it will hold you while you take this journey. And to take this journey doesn't require a body, so we're going to relax every part of it. It requires an open mind and an open heart. So relax your feet on the floor. Imagine your toes just melting into the floor and through the floor into the earth. And your ankles follow. They relax. And then your shins and your calves follow. They relax. Your knees relax. And the energy of love travels across your thighs and settles in your seat so your hips can relax, nothing to hold there. And now, in the mind's eye, see that energy, that relaxation spreading, traveling up the spine, activating the subtle body, the energetic body, the chakra system, activating it. As it travels up the spine, out the crown of the head, it meets the energy of your neighbor to your left and to your right, and feels the room. And now it makes its way down your neck, across your shoulders. Relax the shoulders. Surrender everything and feel the energy travel down the arms and gather in the palms. And then extend out the fingertips. You are making yourself an open channel for the divine. And from this surrender place, we breathe together, focusing on the right side of the body. Inhale together, inhale. And exhale down the left side. Beautiful. Inhale up the left side. Exhale down the right. Inhale up the right. Exhale down the left. Inhale up the left. Exhale down the right. 2 more rounds of this gentle rocking and breath. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Inhaling up, exhaling down. And now, bring all of that joy and ease and bliss to the center. Inhale from the root all the way up through the heart. Hold it there. Open the mouth and release. Again, inhale all the way up through the heart, activating the healing center, the love center, the joy center. Hold it there. Open the mouth and release. Beautiful. One more time. Inhale all the way up. Heart chakra is spinning open, and release the breath. Now this time, inhale all the way up through the heart. Hold it there. Close the lips, exhale through the nose. Nice and easy. This is how you'll breathe for the remainder of our time. Feeling up every cell, we sing, you sit in the joy of release and acceptance of love, joy, peace, and bliss. They are all available now. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have it now. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy, I can feel peace and bliss. Joy, peace, bliss. Joy, peace, and bliss. Joy, peace. Feel them now. Feel them now. Joy, peace, bliss. And as you go into the bliss, as we go into the silence, we'll monitor this time. You just take that journey. Let every thought, every feeling, every sensation but these, let them be still now. With our eyes still closed, we notice what we have. We have breath. We have joy, peace, ultimately bliss. replace it with a new word, a new truth, a new understanding. Joy, peace, bliss. Joy, peace, bliss. Joy, peace, bliss. Joy, peace, joy. Feel it now. Peace. Remember it now. Start to bring yourself back. Have joy. I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy. I can feel peace and bliss. I can have joy. I can feel peace and bliss. And bow your chin to your fingertips. Joy. I can feel peace. Honoring the divinity within. Slow and flutter your eyes forward. I can feel peace. Take a point of the hood from you. And gently have joy. Inhale. I can feel peace. Raise the chin. Raise the gaze. Namaste. I can have joy. I can feel peace and
The spiritual life keep us from experiencing challenges or problems or to be sad or to get frustrated or disappointed or to experience something not working out. The spiritual life is not designed to prevent any of those things. What the spiritual life is designed to do is to support us in deliberately and intentionally and very powerfully moving through any of those changes easily and effortlessly, because we remember through it all who and whose we are.
Yes, yes, yes.
And so for me, this song, I couldn't write this song until I had experienced some things. And by experiencing the ebbs and flows of life, I came to understand something very powerful, that behind it all, there was a master plan. There was something working that I could not see at the time, that I did not know. But when I look back now, I see provision. When I look back now, I see there were hidden hands. When I look back now, I see there was something guiding me. When I look back now, I see that no was pointing me to the right yes. When I look back now, I can see and affirm that rejection is redirection. I couldn't see it in the moment. But the truth is that behind it all, source is always there. I've lived long enough to know that I can fly, to hold a goal in mind and watch it come to life. I've lived long enough to know the deepest pain, to know I'll never see a loved one's face again. I've lived long enough to know how true love, how it feels, to look in someone's eyes and the whole world just stands still, still. I've known good and I've known bad. I've seen the happy and the sad. And at every step, you were behind it all. Behind it all. There was a master plan. Behind it all. Behind it all. You were holding my hand. Behind it all. Behind it all. There was a purpose. I could not see. You see, I thought I was alone. But the truth is, you were there. Behind it all. I've lived long enough to lose everything I owned, not knowing when I would have another home. I've lived long enough to know the joy of new life, to see the miracle of a newborn baby's eyes. I've lived long enough to lose a lover and a friend. Oh, I've walked through the valley and come out whole again. See, I know good and I know bad. I've seen the happy and the sad, and at every step, God was behind it all. Behind it all, there was a master plan. There was a master plan. Behind it all, you were holding my hand. Does anybody realize that today? You can see it now when you look through your life. You realize that behind it all, there was a purpose that you just couldn't see. Oh, you thought you were alone. I thought I was alone. But the truth is, source was always there. Behind it all. You see, the truth of life is that we're going to have seasons. We're going to go through storms. We're going to go through the winter. Every life has a season. And there's a promise. Winter promises that spring will freedom. Winter promises spring will freedom. Above the rain, the sun still shines. And that's the truth of our life. We were always there. Behind it all. God walks with me, that love is always with me, and I'm never alone. I am never alone. I thought I was by myself, but now I know it's you. Now I know it's you. I am never alone. Why? Because you are there. Behind it all. Behind that layoff, behind that job loss, you were behind it all. Behind that business that did not work out, behind that idea that did not work out. I know that I'm never alone. Feels so good to know we have a friend that will stay by our side until the end. guiding us, loving us, protecting us. Yeah. Behind it all, behind it all. Yeah. You are never alone. You are never alone. You are never alone. Never, never alone. There's a master plan. There's a master plan. There's a purpose for your life. There's a purpose for your life. Behind every experience. Behind every experience. There's love, there's purpose, there's a plan. Behind it all. Behind it all. So nice. Yes. I do want to take just a quick moment. I just got to say, Pastor Yolanda and I have been just thrilled and in so much joy all week. We just want to say thank you again for that powerful, amazing surprise gift last week. And you know, we've been enjoying, we've been laughing at ourselves and our reaction, which was priceless. We appreciate each and every one of you so much. Oh my goodness, that was a huge surprise. And planning. And we are planning. We have some dates and locations in mind, so we're practicing what we preach. So we're in the last week of this series, The Wonderful World of Wisdom, Pixar. And we've taken a beautiful journey. In week one, we looked and we were inspired by the movie A Bug's Life. Let's stand up and be counted. Looking at that idea that's presented in the movie that the power of the collective is greater than the supposed power. In the story, it was the power of the grasshoppers. But we recognize if you're feeling any tension or angst about what's going on in the world, and shout out to our brothers and sisters in Puerto Rico who have exhibited this so powerfully and wonderfully, what happens when the collective comes together to affect change. So we talked from that place, a beautiful inspiration. And in week two, Don't Feed the Lions was inspired by Monsters, Inc., a world that was really created by fear. It was literally powered by fear. And we looked at this beautiful passage from Florence Scovel Shinn in The Game of Life and How to Play It, where she says that if we walk up to the lion will disappear, the lion being our fears. And so we cannot feed our fears. And in the movie, we find that laughter was actually much more powerful than fear ever was. In week three, last week, do you know the whole story? We looked at the brilliant, probably my favorite Pixar movie to date, Coco. Coco is just a beautiful movie. If you haven't seen it yet, please go see it. But we looked at this idea of many times we have one version of a story of our life or our family or who we think we are that sends us on an adventure, just as it sent Miguel in the story. But we found out that he didn't have the whole story. And actually by learning the whole story, that was actually able to bring him to a place of harmony and really coming to love his family and understand his family while also embracing his love for music, something that was rejected and actually banned by his family. Do you know the whole story? I invite you to go back to that. And so for this final week, I want to look at and use as inspiration the movie WALL-E. And WALL-E is an interesting movie because it was well received by critics, but it's also a very different movie because WALL-E's a robot that doesn't talk much, and you spend like the bulk of maybe the first 20, even 30 minutes of the movie, and there's not a lot of real dialogue, and you're kind of getting inferences of what's going on. But this movie takes place in the future. It takes place in the 29th century. And what we find is that the earth has become inhabitable due to waste, consumerism, and overconsumption. So the humans left 700 years earlier. And the plan was that they had robots that were called Eve robots that, WALL-E and his robots were the robots that were there to clean up all of the trash that was there on Earth. And the idea was they would clean up all the trash, clean up the earth, and then they had other robots called Eve robots, which would come down and detect if there was life again. If they found a seedling, plant life that was growing, then they knew that the humans could come back. And so under these conditions, we meet WALL-E, who is a trash compacting robot, a somewhat sentient being, which is interesting. You realize he has feelings and things that he likes and things he likes to collect that he feels have purpose. It's wonderful. And he's the last of his kind that's left on Earth. These robots that were left to clean up the Earth, all of the rest of them are broken, they're rusty, and they're just sitting there in their position, whatever the last movement they made, that's where they are, right? But WALL-E is the only one. He's moved all around and getting his trash and making his little boxes and piling them up. And so what we find is that in this place, in this movie, there are so many wonderful themes. So many, of course, the environment and thinking about waste and what we're doing to the planet. And of course, we can look at plastic bags and how we're damaging our oceans. And consumerism is a big piece in there. There's this store chain that's called Big Lots. I think it'll kind of be like Walmart and Amazon combined. And basically, they own everything, and every store is a Big Lot store. And you see all of their waste everywhere. And so, you could look at that theme and take that, and we could talk about what humans need to do. And I'm not going to talk about that, but that's one of the big themes that's there in the movie, right? There's also this beautiful love story because WALL-E meets this robot, Eve, and he falls in love with her, right? And it's beautiful to watch that. Again, I'm going to let you watch the movie because I'm not going to talk about the love story. But it's beautiful to watch how he protects her and just spends time with her. And they watch movies together. It's so cute. It's adorable. Right? It's adorable. For me, one of the things that struck me about this movie is that it's a story about the power of forgetting. There is power in forgetting. One of the ways that we uphold and think about the power of forgetting is something that we talk about all the time. Let that blank go. Right? And we understand the power of forgetting. There's some things in our lives we need to just let that mess go. Yes, yes? We might say it another way, just drop the story, right? Right, and that's the power of forgetting. We've all moved through that process, that there was something we needed to drop. There was an old story that we were telling, an old way of being, an old identity that we were holding on to, an old victim story. We had to let that mess go so that we could experience something new in our life. Yes, yes? There is power in forgetting. There's also power in forgetting because forgetting brings forth focus. I was reminded of the very well-known scripture in Philippians, but forgetting those things which are behind me. I'm reaching forward to those things which are ahead of me. I press towards the mark, right? And I love that image because it was written to the Greeks who understood the Olympics, and it was talking about that idea of when we were watching track yesterday, when the track athletes lean forward to make sure that they win the race, right? That's that idea. Forgetting. Don't think about what was back there. Don't think about the other steps that you took. Think about the steps that you're taking right now. Forget about the past, and don't think about who's at your left or your right. There's power in forgetting. It brings forth focus. Yes, yes? Yes. There's power in forgetting. Forgetting also frees us from the past. I hear the words of A Course in Miracles, the past is over. It can touch me not. Forgetting is powerful because it moves you into that place of freeing you from the past, and you can affirm this truth that whatever I experience, whatever the past was of my family, whatever the past was of my identity, whatever that may be, that does not have to be the truth for me. And when I allow myself to forget that and adopt something new, it touches me not. Yes, yes? Yes. And so in WALL-E, we also learn about the power of forgetting. You see, in the story, for 700 years, the humans lived in space. while the robots cleaned up the earth. And the plan was that as soon as plant life was found by one of the Eve robots, Operation Recolonization would begin. But at this point that we meet humans in the 29th century living in space, living on this beautiful ship that has every amenity that they could possibly want, we find that from their perspective, Earth was a foreign place, and the humans had become lazy, the humans had become helpless, and they had become degenerate. They had no connection to what it meant to be earthlings. In fact, the ship's captain, once it was discovered that they had found life, that they had found plant life, and the computer system automatically started to go into this protocol that was set up, he didn't know what to do. And they examined the soil, the earth, the dirt, and he asked, what is this? And it examines it, and he says, oh, this is something commonly called soil or earth. And he asked the computer, well, what is earth? Right? And the computer begins to tell him what earth is, and talks about the seas that are on earth, all right? Our bodies of water. He says, well, what is a sea? Right? And so the computer has to describe to him what a sea is and what our oceans are and all of the things that we understand about our planet. And he begins to go through this whole beautiful, it's like a time capsule, if you will, that's showing him what Earth was like and what it was like for humans to interact. And he asked the computer, well, what is dancing? He had never heard of dancing. He didn't know what dancing was all about. These things that we look at as ways that we connect and the ways that we enjoy life and enjoy our existence on earth, he had no clue about these things. And so what we find then is that the humans on the ship did not demonstrate the things that we celebrate about ourselves as humans. They did not demonstrate our ingenuity. They did not demonstrate our courage, our capacity to love, our strength, our resilience, our ability to bounce back from adversity, and our desire to connect and be connected. They did not demonstrate our capacity to create and enjoy beautiful music and stunning art and dazzling dances and more. They were just on these like hover beds and they were like sipping big gulps, and they had their phones in their faces, and they would talk to each other through their phones while they were floating around next to each other all over this vast ship. It's like, think of like how our cruise ships are, you know, that they're huge and they're like cities unto themselves. This is what this ship was like. So they weren't expressing or living as we think about humans. All of the things that we love, the richness of being human and being earthlings, they were not demonstrating any of these things. And they did not demonstrate these things because they had forgotten who they are. There is power in forgetting. Can you turn to somebody and just say that? There is power in forgetting. You see, there's power in forgetting because like all spiritual principles, there is a constructive path and there's a destructive path. Okay. We talked about the fact that, yes, there's power in forgetting. There's power in letting that mess go. Yes, there's power in forgetting. There's power in forgetting so that you can have focus on what you're headed towards and to reach that prize, to reach that goal. There's power in forgetting to let go of the past so that you can affirm the past is over and can touch me not. That's the constructive path, but there's also power in forgiving. There's a destructive path. And this is what we're finding in the story as we look at the humans. They had forgotten all of the things that were brilliant and beautiful and powerful about them. They had let them go, and they had become lazy, helpless, and degenerate. It reminds me of the Exodus story, and I love the Exodus story because it's also a story about forgetting. The very first sentence, and you may not have even realized this, but we know the Moses story. We know all about Pharaoh and let my people go. We know about all of that. But the very first sentence that introduces this story tells us everything we need to know. It says, now a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. 2 sentences later, we have slavery and we have oppression. Now, why is this important? That there was a king or a pharaoh who arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. Because just before in the preceding text, what we're reading about is the story of Joseph. And we know the story of Joseph, right? The coat and the dreams and all of those wonderful things. And so what he represents, actually, astrologically, he represents the sign of Cancer, and particularly the summer solstice. And we recognize that our sun, as we are in summer right now, the sun is at its height on the summer solstice. That's why we have the longest amount of daylight. That also represents this season of abundance, right? We have more than enough sunlight. Everybody wants to be out. Everybody wants to have a good time. I love summer because there's an abundance of fresh fruits and vegetables. And that's what we understand that summer is. And so that's what Joseph rising to power and being able to save his family and forgive his family and prevent Egypt from experiencing a famine, which was part of the story, right? That's what all of that represents, the height of the summer. And so we come to this place after avoiding a famine and having this wonderful story of forgiveness and this wonderful story of triumph after Joseph was lied on and all of these things. There arose a king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. And I think the storyteller here is brilliant because we have to recognize, well, first, I'll just say this. The stories that we read in the Old Testament, we're actually reading the same story over and over again. I encourage you to look at the Joseph story and look at all of the main notes that happen in the Joseph story and then parallel that against the Exodus story or the Moses story. And you'll find that they're actually going through the same process. The telling of the Exodus story is a new way of telling the Joseph story. And this is where we get into the idea. This is why we don't need to look at these people as historical people that walk the planet. We need to look at the information, what it's trying to tell us about ourselves. And so why I say that the storyteller was brilliant. Imagine a storyteller with some children sitting around the fire. And now he wants to teach them something where he may want to teach them something around the Joseph story. Now he wants to teach them the power of forgetting. And so he opens this story with, there was a king that forgot Joseph, that didn't know Joseph, that forgot about all the good things that happened, that forgot that this man had power, could interpret dreams and prevented Egypt from experiencing a famine. And he also demonstrated this beautiful power of forgiveness. And when we forget that thing, 2 sentences later, we're in slavery and oppression. There is power in forgetting. So when we forget who we are, we create oppression in our lives. When we forget or discard the things that make us up uniquely, that make us powerfully brilliant and talented, there is an invisible taskmaster running the show. You see, the truth is the law is absolute and it's perfect. I was reminded, Ernest Holmes, he writes in The Science of Mind, that the law, it is a taskmaster to the unwise and is a servant to the wise. And we have this choice. This is why I say this. The power in forgetting, it's a constructive path and a destructive path, and it depends on this very thing, how we use it, because the law is always working. This law of what happens when we forget, when we let go of those things that no longer serve us, that power works. When we let go of those things that keep us off focus and off our goal and our vision, that thing works. When we let go of the past and start to live in the present and create a new future, that thing works. But when we forget who and whose we are, when we forget that we're brilliant, when we forget that we're talented, when we forget that we're amazing, when we forget that we're gifted, when we forget that we're uniquely skilled, when we forget that idea that we let sit in a shelf and collect dust, when we forget that, then the power of forgetting becomes the taskmaster. And so as I say, the Exodus story is the story about forgetting. The other piece of it is the Hebrew people chose to be wise. They didn't allow this thing to just remain a taskmaster. And so this is why the Exodus story is a story of forgetting. The storyteller takes us there and shows us what happens when we forget. But then arises the deliverer, Moses. And what's interesting about the story? We get the ritual of Passover in the story because it was teaching the people and really the children in this case, because you would learn these stories as a child. It was teaching them the power of remembering. First showing you when you forget, this is what happens, but guess what? There's grace, there's love, there's providence. A deliverer will always show up from within you, from within your midst. You hear that? Moses was from them, right? So it's not going to be some savior out there. All right? A deliverer within you will always rise up, saying, let my people go. And Pharaoh lets the people go. But within that is the ritual of Passover, which is so very, very important. And so Passover ensures, by going through that process every year, once a year, it ensures that there will never rise a new king that does not know Joseph. So I'm almost done, y'all. Let's do a little self-inventory. Let's just take a breath in this moment. What are some things in your life that you discarded that needed to be let go of? Just think about that. Think back. Yeah, we laugh because you know. You know what those things, people, vices, etc. were. Think back on those things that you can look back on and you can clearly see the power of forgetting working in your life in a beautiful way. Letting go of that thing made room for new experiences in your life. Letting go of that thing made room for a new love. It made room for new money, new relationships, new opportunities, maybe even a new career. Can you remember some things you look back and you're like, and I thank God I let go of them things. The power of forgetting has worked brilliantly in your life. And so, as we recognize that there's a power in forgetting, we celebrate that. We celebrate those choices and those changes that we made because they allow us to be exactly who we are today. Let's take a breath. And Ben, can we just play a little music? Thank you. Now, what are some things that you've forgotten that need to be remembered? I invite you to close your eyes in this moment. I want you to sit with this. We recognize the power of forgetting. And we recognize that when we forget the truth of who we are, we become, in consciousness, lazy, helpless, and degenerate. A taskmaster arises, and slavery and oppression is the end result in one way or another. As you look in the places of your life where you feel victimized or oppressed, or you feel like life is a hard taskmaster, ask yourself, what aspects of myself did I discard or throw away? Take a breath. What aspects of myself have I discarded or thrown away? Today is your opportunity to find yourself again. What parts of myself am I hiding away in a box collecting dust? You know what those things are. Go to that closet in your mind, up on that high shelf, and pull down. Open it up and remember who you are. Remind yourself of your roots. Remind yourself of your power. Remind yourself of your brilliance. Remind yourself of that thing you used to love to do when you were a child, but you were ridiculed for it. You were teased about it, but it's something you love to do. It's something you love to be. Take a breath. We are finding our way back to ourselves. Because when we find our way back to ourselves, we find power. When we find our way back to ourselves, we find strength. When we find our way back to ourselves, we will overcome whatever the situation is, whatever the difficulty is, whatever the challenge. You are finding your deliverer right now. As you find your way back to yourself, you are finding your Moses right now. That thing within you that is so powerful, that will speak to the power, that will speak to the Pharaoh, that will speak to that thing that is enslaving you in some way, that is oppressing you in some way. You will begin to speak to it because you have found yourself. You have found your voice. You are remembering who you are. Remind yourself of that business idea. Breathe it in. Remind yourself of that career that you wanted to pursue, but somebody talked you out of it. Or you didn't know how you were going to do it, or you think you might be too old or too young to do it. Remind yourself of that thing right now. Remind yourself of the family that you've always wanted. Take a breath. There is power in forgetting, but there is more power in remembering. When we come back to the reality that we are powerful beyond measure, when we come back to the reality that there is no expiration date on our dreams, When we come back to the reality that there is no expiration date on your goals, on your vision, when you come back to the reality that you can be unrealistic, when you come back to the reality that you can be, do, or have whatever you desire, when you come back to the reality that there is no one and no thing judging you. So if you were judged as a child, we let that thing go. We use the power of forgetting, and we remember that there is something within us. There is a God within us. There is a love within us that is loving us, never judging us, but encouraging us. That same voice that encourages each blade of grass to spring forth in all of its glory. That same voice is speaking to you right now and saying, rise up in all of your glory. The world needs you. The world needs your ideas. The world needs your glory. The world needs your life. The world needs your love. There is power in remembering. I encourage us again. Let's all take a deep breath in together. Breathe in. And breathe out. And as we place our hand on our heart, we pray this simple prayer. I forgive myself. And I set myself free. From all the ways that I forgot my brilliance, my glory, my power. I choose to remember right here and right now that I am powerful, that I am amazing, that I am capable, and I am supported by all of life. I choose now to go and be great. I choose now to live out my greatness. I choose now to live from my joy. And together we say amen, ashe. And so it is. So it is. Thank you, guys. Thank
you. We are living in a now, full of goodness, full of greatness, full of joy. We are living in the now, remembering who and whose we are. We are living in a now where there is nothing holding us back. We are living in a now that allows us to activate the truth of our being. We are living in the now. This now says that you're perfect. This now says that you're whole and complete. This now says that there's more than enough time to do what you came to do. This now says that you have all the resources, and all the resources that you will ever need will be provided. This now says that the past is gone and can touch you not. This now says remember who you are. Remember who you are. Remember who you are. Remember where you came from. Remember what you are a descendant of. Remember the power that moves through you. Remember that there is no obstacle in your way. Remember that the truth of your being will light your way and ease your path. Remember that you are connected to the source of life. Remember, yes, there's power in forgetting, but the law of life is activated in remembering. Go out this week remembering. Oh, I remember. I can do the things that my heart inspires me to do. I remember. I can have the love that I desire. I remember that nothing is being withheld from me. Can we do that this week? Can we go out remembering? Can we go out remembering this week? Can we go out remembering this week? Thank you, Pastor.
So in this moment, it is time to prepare for giving. And so I invite anyone who needs an envelope, if you need a pen, please just raise your hand. Our ushers are happy to serve you. Thank you to all of our online givers, those that have given ahead of time or giving right now online. If you're streaming, you should see the link there in the post. If you'd like to text to give, the number is 347-744-9500. Now, we talk about this every week. I don't think it can be said enough because the world tends to operate in a very different way. What we give is never the thing. How we give is where the power of giving is. You can give $1 million and not experience the blessing of the law of circulation. If you give it from a stingy place, if you give it from a place of obligation. But when we give from a place of joy, one, knowing that there's more than enough, that you're giving from the source, not the resource, right? And you give from this place of recognizing that you're participating in circulation. Just as we exhale so we can inhale, and we joyfully exhale because we sure want to inhale some more oxygen, yes. This is the process that we operate in when we're giving. And so then the amount doesn't become the thing. It's the vibration behind it. We live in a vibrational universe. Energy is the language, yes. And so we give from joy here at CSC. We give from this place of knowing abundance. We give from this place of knowing that there will be more than enough. And when we give from that place, we affirm that all the money that I use, returns to me multiplied, in a never-ending cycle, of increase, and enjoyment. With that, I call our ushers forward. Let's take a very joyous song.
Let us extend our hands, and through our hands, the life deep, the life force, the energetic power that you are, Mother, Father, God. We are so grateful today for the givers and for the gifts. For we know that as we give in joy, it comes back to us in joy. As we live in joy, it comes back to us in joy. As we move forward today, knowing that we are the joy of this world, we will experience the joy of this world. Thank you, Mother, Father, God. We go out today remembering our power, our truth, our perfection, our wholeness, and we allow all of the ease and effortlessness of life to flow to us. From this place of awareness, I say amen. Amen. Ashe. Ashe. So it is. So it is.
Let's affirm this together. I give my love, more love comes rushing back to me.
I give my love, more love comes rushing back to me. Thank you.
I give my time, more time
available to me.
I give my treasure. reminder, we have the God Talk. If you want to hang out with us, if you have questions, if you want to just anything about spirituality, no question is off limits, something that's going on in your life, how do you apply these teachings directly to what you're experiencing? We're here. We always have a good time, and it's a safe space.
Yes. So at 12:30, join us back here in the sanctuary at 12:30. This series was fun, y'all. I love the summer. I love our series in the summer. They're always fun. And we look at these animated movies and we think, oh, it was entertaining. But there's life lessons in there. So this week, remember. That's the word, remember. If somebody says, how are you? You say, I'm remembering. I'm remembering who I am. Right? But if something is preventing you from remembering, it's okay. What we want you to do is to write it down, that worry, that doubt, that fear, whatever it is that's blocking your ability to remember, and leave it on the altar in the back of the room. And our prayer champion, Lavonda, who prayed us in this morning. Did she pray us in this morning? Yes. That's how we pray at CSC. Yes. We don't beg God, we don't barter, we don't bargain with God, we don't beseech God. There's no, oh Lord, please. There's thank you, God, that this is so. Yes. Right? So write it down, leave it on the altar. And when you do that, what do we say at CSC?
All things are possible.
Now, all things are possible. Now, every little thing is possible. 'Cause I know who I am. And I know whose I am.
Now all things are possible. Yes, everything is possible. I know who I am, and I know who I am. Magnificent power.
Now all things are possible.
Now everything is possible.
Now everything is possible.
Because we know who we are.
And I know who I am.
Amazing week, and we'll see you on the 12th.